let's have you start with your opinion of they released two new vehicles as they call it. Uh, Elon has been promising new models for or new vehicles rather for the past year, and there was lots of expectation that they would be released in the first half of the year. Lots of speculation as to what they might look like. And it turns out that they look exactly the same as the Model Y and the Model 3. So, what are your thoughts about Tesla's new Model Y and Model 3 trims?
Yeah, so I own Tesla. They're 1.4% of my portfolio. Um, this to me was a big nothing burger. I think the internet overhyped it, which I could have told you before. Like people were speculating they were going to announce some like flying vehicle. Did you see any of that?
Well, okay, so he has specifically said that the Roadster is going to have, with the SpaceX package, is going to have some hovering and or flying capabilities. This is, like years ago he mentioned that. So with the whole spinning blade thing, people were speculating that might be a fan that either suctions it down for traction or maybe pushes it up to do some hovering.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
think I
the
based on the picture
speculation on
that was some
Tesla.
that was some intense speculation. I just didn't see the physics behind that personally.
Yeah.
But I also I wouldn't have been able to guess that they were going to announce just cheaper models of the 3 and the Y. The thing with this also, like if the tax credits didn't go away, this would have been a bigger deal because then you're actually saving money. But I believe because the tax credits are going away, these vehicles are still, I think, around $2,000 more expensive than what they
Then
were before.
a premium version would have been like a month ago. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yes, but like the price on them is actually pretty impressive. Like I don't want to downplay the fact that they're able to sell a $36,000 Model 3 8 years after the promise of a $35,000 Model 3. Like, when you adjust for inflation, it's probably in the high 20s, right? Like, which is a pretty impressive price point, right? Back then, I think they were hoping to have the Model 3 be a $35,000 vehicle, and eventually they would have a $25,000 vehicle. So you could almost argue that this is the equivalent of the $25,000 vehicle, inflation adjusted to maybe 32, 33, and maybe they missed the price by a couple thousand, and like you get to the 36 number. So yes, it's great, but it also does a couple of other things, which is it devalues the Model Y in general, or the Model 3, the existing ones, because if you owned a $60,000 Model Y before, you owned, like, to get into it, it was a much more expensive price point, and now people can get into it for 39, right? So I think it might even devalue resale to some degree, which is something that Elon does not seem to care about. And I think a lot of his customers have gotten slammed as the prices just continue to go down on the existing vehicles and existing models, rather than like releasing new variations and options for buyers to bring in
Yeah.
more new buyers, like release a different design or a two-door, or like something, or like a three.
Yeah, I think it's hard just in the electric car space because it's so new. The game is to bring the prices down, not just for Tesla, but also for Rivian. So I think it's an element of being an early adopter in this market. And I know the market's been around for a while, but you're still relatively a new early adopter, compared to
Yeah,
everyone else driving around their gas vehicles.
but ironically, despite like having no volume vehicles yet, Rivian has more variations of their products in their pipeline. Like if you look at the R3, for example, it's like a totally different looking car than the R2, right? Their R2 is the sort of volume car, but they have the R3 that's supposed to come after the R2 at some point. And Tesla doesn't have any of that. Like they've basically said, we're not going to have any other new cars. And they, for a while, they were promising new cars, or Elon was promising new cars, but then sometime in the last year or so, he changed his tune that like Robotaxi is the only way to go. And we're all in on Robotaxi and everything else is basically like secondary. And we have no semi, no roadster, no, like all these cars that they even promised to bring out, they haven't brought out, and then no new vehicles have been announced either. So
Well,
it's a definitely different approach than they had before.
Elon put himself into a corner because they have the Model S, 3, X, Y. If they add anything else, it breaks the whole system.
Well, it's sexy, and then cars were supposed to be next. The
Oh,
Cybertruck
was
with
it?
the C, the
Okay.
ATV, which they also canceled. The R was the Roadster, and S was the Semi. So sexy cars. Um, so I don't know. He could have come up with the model something else that sexy cars are great or something.
Yeah, do a whole sentence.
But anyway. Um, I was definitely underwhelmed, and it seems like the market was a little underwhelmed. These don't seem like vehicles that are going to move their revenues for the next year or two, right? Like how are the lower priced Model 3 and Model Y going to move Tesla's revenue? They might help maintain volume, but actually their average selling price might come down a little bit. So uh, there might be a net negative impact. And when Rivian releases their R2 line, there's going to be some Model Y buyers who are going to choose the R2 instead. Um, so yeah, they might also have some volume issues when Rivian can make the R2 in volume. So that'll be interesting to see as well. So for all of 2026, and this is something that like I've been saying about Tesla for a little over a year now, is that I don't see where revenue growth comes from and profit growth comes from in the next 2 years, meaning 2025 and 2026. I don't see any revenue growth. Um, but 2027, you might start to have like robotaxi revenues having a meaningful impact, and maybe by then even Optimus revenues might have some meaningful impact, but they're still going to be in the single digit billions. So 1 billion is roughly 1% of Tesla's revenue. So even a successful product launch where it achieves $1 billion of revenue is not significant for Tesla. It needs to reach 5-10 billion before it's like significant revenue and profit contribution. So
Yeah, and the price did go down after the announcement, but I will say, like, they're basically at all-time highs in
yeah,
regards to stock
yeah.
price. So it didn't drop that dramatically, and which honestly surprised me. I thought it would have dropped more after the announcement, but
It is
we'll
pretty
see if it
impressive
continues
how
to go
high the
down.
stock price is. I give you
Yes,
that. Like it's trading at 16 times sales, over 200 times profits. It's just like not normal for such a mature company that is very profitable already to be trading at 200 times profits in anticipation of future growth. But that future is definitely not 2026. Maybe some of it will start to come in 2027, but really most of it is not going to come until 2028 and beyond. But I'm like confident Tesla will get there. It's just that like it's not in the near term. So
right. Yeah, and I think it's more to say how hot the market is in general, as opposed to like just looking at Tesla.
yeah, that's true.